So let's talk about playing card grips. So this honestly should have been the first guide video that I made, but you know, I didn't, so I apologize for that. I mean, I made like guide videos on like playing cards, on breaks, on how to shuffle cards. So honestly, the fact that I missed something so fundamental is my fault, so sorry. I know a lot of you guys will say, oh, but I already know how to hold a deck. I mean, that's probably true. But I'm going into a lot more detail on the grips, on how to hold decks, because a lot of people are sort of unaware of the amount of micro adjustments that they do when it comes to like holding a deck. And you know, they shift the deck a lot when it comes to actually like holding the deck when they need to perform like a certain technique. So I just wanted to like make a generalized video on grips, right? Because yeah. So just a couple of heads up. So some of these don't really have like a like quote unquote official name. So I'll just headcanon some of these names. And also everybody's hands are kind of different. So these are just going to be guidelines on how you should hold a deck of playing cards. They don't have to be exactly the same, but yeah, just take notice of some of the details that I say. And honestly, these are just the main grips that I believe deserve the most amount of attention, or I'll refer to the most throughout like my entire like videos or video series or whatever. So any other subsequent grip that I introduce will be derived from these, and I'll be going into more of those like specialized grips in those like proper videos. So you don't have to worry about those. I'll introduce those like if I have to, but for now these are the main grips that, you know, I use and whatnot. So let's begin with something that is extremely simple. So this is just a dealer's grip. This is also called a mechanic's grip. And this is the grip that is favorable for most lights, and you'll also see people like most people hold a deck of cards this way. And I just want you to notice that, you know, the deck is actually held in my left hand. I'm actually a righty, so if you're actually a lefty, you should probably hold the deck in your right hand. So you usually hold the deck in your non-dominant hand. And this is because in most cases, your non-dominant hand doesn't do anything, right? It's always stationary, so it's mostly your dominant hand that does all of the complex actions, right? Like dealing a card or maybe like cutting them, right? So it's always your dominant hand that does the most amount of work, right? And so since I'm a righty, I'll refer to everything to my sort of like left side, I guess. So I'll just go over the dealer's grip. So what you'll notice is that your thumb is actually lining the left long edge of the deck, like so. My index finger is contacting the upper short edge of the deck over here, so it's just gently wrapped around it. And then my middle ring and pinky finger are contacting the right long edge of the deck, like so. And what you actually notice is that the bottom left corner is actually sitting next to the fat of my thumb over here, right? And so this is this is actually an important detail. I'll go into it a bit later on. But what you'll actually notice, another thing that you'll notice is that there's actually quite a lot of space between the deck and the palm of my hand. This space is actually really interesting because this sort of somewhat elevated position actually makes a lot of sleights easier. All right, so yeah, and also notice the cards they're actually kind of loose in my hand, right? And they're actually not squared up in my hands. You actually notice that they're actually beveled over here, right? So the bevel actually caused by the fact that these cards are actually conforming to the fat of my thumb over here, right? And because obviously there's a curve in the fat of my thumb, this causes the cards to curve as well. So again, this will also make quite a few moves easier, including stuff like the pinky break, or not the pinky break, the pinky count, like so, right? So yeah, that's I guess that would be about it for the dealer's grip. Honestly, this is just a very standard position, but I want you to notice like the two details I want you to notice for a dealer's grip is just the amount of space and also notice how it conforms to the fat of my thumb. So those are the two main details that I want you guys to notice. The next grip that we're going to go into is this, which is an elevated dealer's grip. So this is just a modified dealer's grip, and I honestly rarely see this version of or variation because most people honestly use the elevated straddle grip, which is this. But yeah, this exists, so I guess I have to present it. So it's just the same thing as a dealer's grip, except that it is elevated into your fingertips, like so. Right? And you'll notice that the thumb is actually sitting near the center of the deck rather than going along the left long edge as a whole. And the way that you get into it is that you start off in a normal dealer's grip. You curl in your thumb until you can contact about the center area of the left long edge. You apply a bit of pressure, and then you extend all of your fingers, right? So you'll notice that all my fingers are somewhat curled in. And now you just extend all of them, and now it's propped up in a elevated dealer's grip. All right, so that's the elevated dealer's grip, like so. So the next grip that we're gonna go over is a dealer's grip, but adjusted for false deals. So I won't go into things like the Erdnase grip or the Jean Mays grip, but those grips are derived from this one, so you better get comfortable with this grip first, and then you can go into those specialized grips. All right. So it's generally the same basic finger positioning as a dealer's grip, except that the deck is going to be the deck is going to be moved downwards, right? So you'll notice that this deck is actually going to be shifted down, and it's going to be shifted down until the fat of my thumb can actually be curled over, can actually be wrapped over the left corner of the deck, the bottom left corner of the deck, right? And you'll notice that it's actually kind of sitting in the center of my palm, like well, below the center of my palm, so it's about here, right? And again, these are just guidelines, so depending on how big your hand is or how long your fingers are, this center line might be different, but for me it's around over here. All right, so the deck is shifted over here, and you'll notice that this actually changes the grip quite a bit, because, well, one, obviously the fat of my thumb is overlaying on top of the bottom left corner, and you'll notice that my index is actually wrapping sort of around the deck closer to the upper left corner of the deck. And you'll also notice that now my fingers are a lot closer to the bottom of the deck as well. All right. So the fat of my thumb also gives the cards a pivot point. So when I push these cards off, it actually rotates around of this area. All right, so it rotates around the bottom left corner of the deck like so. So when I push it off, yeah, it rotates. All right, so the reason why the bottom deck is now closer to the fingers is because this prevents a lot of knuckle flashes, flashing. So you'll notice that if I actually do like false deals from a standard dealer's grip, there would be a lot of knuckle flashing, right? Because I would need to bend my knuckles a whole lot just to nudge this card out, right? Just to loosen this card. But if my fingers were closer to the card, I could do my loosening actions very closely to, whoops, sorry, that was a hanging card, I'm so sorry. I could do my loosening actions without flashing much of my knuckle, right? So that's an added bonus to just this lower position for the dealer's grip. So that's the main difference for between a standard dealer's grip and a dealer's grip that's adjusted for false deals. All right. So the two main, so the three key points I want you to notice for this grip in particular is the fat of the thumb, right? Because it's overlaying on top of the deck. The index finger that's curled in around of the deck, like so. And just the the space between your fingers and the bottom of the deck, right? It's very tiny, just to allow loosening actions to be a lot easier, right? And also, if you notice that the deck is starting to slip away from your grip, if you start doing like a couple of false deals, what you can do is that you can actually apply more pressure with your index finger. So this will cause the deck to pin against the fat of your thumb, right? Which will hold the deck in place. All right, so that's just a couple of tips on the dealer's grip adjusted for false deals. Next thing that we could do is a dealer's grip adjusted for palms. So this is a modified dealer's grip, which is modified for palms while you're holding the deck, all right? But to understand this grip, you have to understand the classic palm first. I taught that in another video, so I'll link it in the comments down below. But yeah, so to get into this grip, you have to understand, well, your palm first, right? So this is your classic palm, right? Your standard classic palm. And what you're going to do to figure out this grip is that you're going to release pressure with all your fingers, keeping that pivot point here. And you're just going to shift this card upwards until you can grab everything in a dealer's grip. All right. So you'll notice that everything is, yeah, everything is very elevated up. It's not exactly an elevated dealer's grip, but it is a lot higher up compared to a standard dealer's grip, right? So you'll notice that now there's just a bunch more space over here, all right? And to complete the grip, you just need to place the deck on top while maintaining this pivot point, all right? So this is where the modified dealer's grip is, all right? So notice the amount of space, and notice how it's also a lot more forward into my hand as well. So this is the modified dealer's grip adjusted for a palm, all right? So I just want you to get used to this position first, and then once that you're used to this position, you can honestly just go from a standard dealer's grip to just shifting up into that position just sort of instantly, and then you can just do whatever palm that you want, all right? So just get comfortable with that first, all right? So key point is that now there's a pivot point around the fat of your thumb as well, except that it's elevated upwards from the palm of your hand, like so. The very next grip that we're going to go over is the straddle grip. It's mostly the same as a dealer's grip, except that now the pinky is contacting the bottom short edge of the deck, right? So this is just a standard dealer's grip, and you're just moving your pinky to the bottom short edge, like so. All right. So what you can do with it is that, you can just like apply pressure with your index finger and your pinky, and now you can release all of your other fingers, and you could turn the deck upside down. So you're straddling the deck, right? So that's where the name comes from, the straddle grip, all right? So the main key point is, yeah, just your pinky is now holding the deck from the bottom short edge of the deck, and you could release pressure with all of your fingers, holding it with just your index and pinky. So those are the two key points regarding the straddle grip. Next, we're going to go into the elevated straddle grip. So it's the same thing as the elevated dealer's grip, except now the pinky is on the bottom short edge of the deck. And you can get into it the same exact way as the elevated dealer's grip, right? You're just curling your thumb, apply a bit of pressure, and then extend all your fingers upwards. And that's the correct position for the elevated straddle grip. All right, and the best thing, I guess the most well-known thing that you can do with the elevated straddle grip is just a Shirley cut, right? Which is just this, right? So that's the elevated straddle grip. Next, we have a modified straddle grip, which is, I guess it would be on the longitudinal position. So this is what it looks like. So it's the same thing as a straddle grip, but you're just going to be holding the deck by its short side now. All right, so your index, and your pinky are gripping it by the long edges, and your middle and ring finger are going to be lining this by the right short edge now, and your thumb is also going to be gripping it by the left short edge as well, right? So this is honestly pretty rarely used. You can do a couple of scissor cuts with it, right? Or we can go into it with a smear fan, right? But honestly, besides that, it's really rare that I see this sort of grip. So honestly, I mean, it's a pretty standard thing. So the key point for this is just, it's a straddle grip, but rotated. So yeah. And now we can go into the end or the biddle grip. So some people like to make a distinction between the end grip and the biddle grip, but I think nowadays it's mostly recognized as the same. So rather than being held in your non-dominant hand, the deck is actually held in your dominant hand, right? So in this case, it's my right hand. So your index, middle, ring, and pinky finger are contacting the front short edge of the deck, like so. And your thumb is contacting the back short edge of the deck near the bottom left corner. So it's around over here, right? And my hand is arced over the deck, like so, right? And so you can also do this grip with the index finger curled in as well. That's actually my preferred way of doing the Biddle grip, because you know it just seems a lot more relaxed and it seems a lot more open versus something that's like very caged in. So honestly, this is my preferred way of doing the Biddle grip. So yeah, key points is my thumb is near the bottom left corner over here, and yeah, my pinky is basically almost contacting the upper right corner over here, and whichever finger is closest to the left corner, that's where it is, right? So in this case it's my middle finger, but if you do it with the index finger, that's where the index finger should be. So now we can go into our last grip, which is the Biddle grip, but shifted off to the side. So it's this, all right? So to many people, this might not seem all that different, but I can promise you that it is different, because now the palm of my hand is actually shifted off to the right. So it's like so, right? Before it was actually shifted on top, right? It was arced over the deck, but now it's actually leaning off to the right. So notice how my thumb is actually almost parallel with the deck, but not quite, right? So this is basically just it. You just have your standard Biddle grip and just shift it off to the side. So that's the main modification, right? So you're just resting your hand off to the side, right? So you may also need to move your thumb away from the bottom left corner of the deck just to make the grip a bit more comfortable. So if you can't do this, right, just shift it a bit more to the right. All right. So the reason why this particular version of the grip exists is to give certain moves more cover. All right. So honestly, the main key point that you should take away from this grip is, yeah, the fact that it basically covers the right side of the deck, like so, right? So it covers quite a bit on the right side of the deck. So that's going to be it for all the grips, all the main grips rather. So you want to learn more about the specialized grips that I sort of like, well, I didn't really touch into them, but I mentioned them here and there. I have a couple of resources for you. So there's the Bottom Deal by Jason England, Gambling Sleight of Hand by Steve Forty, Revolutionary Card Technique by Ed Marlowe, Expert Card Technique by Gene Ungard and Frederick Browie, and then Expert at the Card Table by S.W. Erdney. So all of those contain very interesting grips that are sort of derived from the grips that I presented here. So you can take a look at those. So this video might be a bit longer than I thought, but proper grips are necessary for executing a lot of sleights, right? More than you actually think. I wasn't able to do a lot of moves until I sort of relearned quite a few moves, quite a few grips rather. I remember I was sitting in a bus in Europe and everyone else was sleeping. I was like, holy crap, I could do this one move now because I have a proper grip now. And that was like, I want to say like 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. So the fact that 5 years ago I was still screwing up moves because I didn't have proper grip technique, that probably says a lot. And you know, you should probably learn grips properly just to make sure that you don't run into the same barrier that I did. All right. So yeah, you can just straight up not be able to do moves because you have a bad grip. So learn your grips properly. But besides that, yeah, that's gonna be it for this very short, short guide, I guess. But I think this is a good starting point for anyone who wants to get into cardistry or who wants to get into Magic. But yeah, stay healthy, stay safe, and see you guys on the next one.